The sexual act involves thumping, biting, chasing, and to quote the paper directly, vigorous poking. But there was an idea that somehow if you tipped over so that there was so many more males than females, then this would mean you get into this vortex where for the females it becomes worse and worse and worse, and they die because they're not able to eat, and indeed they get clumsy because they're chased off the cliffs. I mean, the scientists themselves witnessed 4 females plummeting to their doom off the cliffs of this island.
It's a tiny island in the mountains. How could it be an island in the mountains of Macedonia, as my script indicates? On Gollum Grad in Lake Prespa, food is plentiful and there are no natural predators. I'm just moving on with it. But for the island's population of female tortoises, the relentless attention from the male of the species has become an absolute death trap. The lady tortoises, who are outnumbered 19 to 1, are exhausted. Some have even slipped and fallen off cliffs as a result. So there's no actual evidence that they are deliberately tipping themselves. Anyway, let's explore it with Tom Whipple, science writer and special correspondent for The Times. Hello, Tom.
Good afternoon.
Yes. I am worried about these tortoises. Are they actually deciding to end it all because they're just sick to death of the blokes?
Well, to paraphrase Thomas Nagel, we can never know what it is like to be a tortoise. But I think one could say that this is a very sad island on which to be a female tortoise. The life they spend their time hiding to avoid the attentions of the males. And, when a male does find a female tortoise, then he mounts her, and then all the other males get so excited that they mount the male, and they form this little train of tortoises, which some people might find funny, but I wouldn't, because this is such a tragic tale of a terrible island where something dark and horrific is happening to the tortoises.
Yes, I'm completely with you, and thank you for the dignified way in which you've told us about aspects of that story. How did the tortoises get there in the first place?
Well, this is the great mystery. So the paper is scientifically fascinating because it's talking about this thing they call an extinction vortex, and these things had been kind of mooted in species with sexually coercive mating strategies, which is what the Hermann's tortoise has. It's that they don't have the most enlightened sexual politics, and indeed the sexual act involves thumping, biting, chasing, and to quote the paper directly, vigorous poking. But there was an idea that somehow if you tipped over so that there was so many more males than females, then this would mean you get into this vortex where for the females it becomes worse and worse and worse, and they die because they're not able to eat, and indeed they get clumsy because they're chased off the cliffs. I mean, the scientists themselves witnessed 4 females plummeting to their doom off the cliffs of this island. The idea is that eventually you end up in this vortex where extinction is guaranteed, and they predicted this will happen in sometime in the 2080s. The last female of this island will die, and the males will only be able to form their mating chains with each other.
Right, which we know won't work unless something...
But you asked how they got there.
Yes, that was my question. Yeah, because then presumably not native.
No, well... They're native to the area, but to this particular island, how do they get to an island? They can't swim. There are records of a Serbian monk on the island in the 1920s, and he does not mention the tortoises. And given that there are 1,000 of them on the island, you would mention them because they are the predominant thing you notice. And if when you walk out of your door, you notice a train of tortoises having sex, that's something you're going to write down.
Well, he was a monk, so maybe he just thought, no, I'm not going to mention that. I'll just look away.
Maybe he was just ignoring it. Maybe he was prudish about the tortoises. But there is a mystery because the oldest tortoises on the island have these shells that are numbered. They have the numbers from 1 to 122 on them. So it seems like there was a human hand involved somehow, and it's completely tantalizing. But the truth is no one knows.
Oh, gosh, I thought you were going to actually solve the mystery, but you can't. And are we, forgive me if you've already answered this, because I'm finding this the most confusing story of the day. I mean, the world of news sometimes just devours your brain, and I think it might just have finally succeeded with mine. Why are there so many more male tortoises on this island than female?
Well, the one of the hypotheses would be that for some reason the initial introduction was biased strongly towards males, and that meant that they started off this disadvantage. Because we know that they can see among the young that there's no bias there. The same number of females as males are born, but the problem is that life as a female is so unpleasant that you die. So this
I
sex
see.
bias
Okay.
is maintained
Got you. Right.
somehow on the island, and it's maintained by, ironically, the urge that the male Hermann's tortoises feel to have sex is the thing that is denying them the sex.
I see. Right. I mean, there are lessons for everybody here, aren't there? I mean, they're just all such depressing ones. But I guess it does tell us just how very fragile ecosystems can be. I mean, this is terrifying stuff.
Yeah, well, because on paper this should be the perfect place to be a Hermann's tortoise, and they are the architects of their doom. It's a Greek tragedy. They're falling off cliffs because they're not able to live together. And indeed, a Greek tragedian would write it. We know that Aeschylus, the famous Greek tragedian, died from a falling tortoise. So maybe in some sense tragedy began with falling tortoises, or the first bit ended.
Tom, we're very grateful to just have your brilliance with us occasionally. Just remind us again of who was killed by a flying tortoise, because I confess I don't know the gentleman.
Aeschylus, the Greek playwright, a tortoise fell on his head,
Right.
and that was the end, at least according to the records at the time.
Right. I mean, there's always something new to worry about, isn't there? Thank you very much indeed, Tom. And if you're thinking, well, that's rather a trivial tale, it is the most read story on thetimes.com right now. Tom is brilliant. He's a science writer and a special correspondent for The Times.